Next year, North Dakota voters could be asked to consider a plan often floated as a way to shake up traditional politics. Term limits are viewed as a populist reform tool, but one expert says in this state it might benefit influential voices working behind the scenes. North Dakota's Secretary of State is deciding whether to approve a planned petition drive to impose term limits on the governor's office and for state lawmakers. It's being pushed by a group of ultra-conservative elected and party officials. University of North Dakota political scientist Mark Jendrysik says there's a side effect to consider here.
In a lot of states, lobbying organizations, whether it's for business or for ideological lobbying groups, present model legislation to the legislature. And, quite often in North Dakota, that's the legislation that gets adopted.
That's because North Dakota lawmakers are only considered part-time and have limited staff to help write policy. He says higher turnover will give lobbying groups more influence to draft laws that aren't exactly tailored for North Dakota. Political experts say term limits also prevent voters from choosing who they want. Those behind the plan argue term limits open up citizen access to the process while doing away with career politicians. Jendrysik acknowledges it may help weed out politicians who use their office to gain more power for themselves and those close to them. But he says it wouldn't be beneficial to see experience fall by the wayside.
I think you'd lose a lot of the people who've learned how the legislature works over time, and you would certainly lose people in leadership positions who really direct the activities of the legislature.
He says those leaders play a role in identifying proposals from national lobbying groups that don't align with North Dakota's electorate. The plan calls for limits of 8 years in office for the governor, state house, and state senate. Mike Moen, Prairie News Service. Support for this reporting was provided by the Carnegie Corporation of New York.